Welcome to the Shakopee Girls JV hockey game, Friday night versus the South St. Paul Packers. Before you get confused, one of the South St. Paul players forgot her jersey and is sporting a red Shakopee Sabers number 9 jersey. So, getting ready for puck drop. Looks like we've got John Choi, McNee, Rampart, and the 2 Chrisaks for the Sabers. Face-off is won by the Sabers. Back to Chrisak. Cross-ice pass is going to get run down by Rampart. She centers it. Goes all the way across the ice to the far side boards. John Choi runs it down, chips it up the ice. South St. Paul will control, go behind the net, start their breakout. John Choi gets in the way of that pass, and she'll chip it deep. Rampart on the chase. Ties up the defender behind the net. There's 3 South St. Paul skaters back there, and they come out of there with the puck. Trying to skate it out, but Shakopee able to tie it up. That was Chloe Chrisak poked it back in. John Choi's going to go for a change. South St. Paul tries the other direction, but McNee's there. Rampart in the middle, gets a shot to Telejohn. Nice one-timer. Goalie got the pad down, was able to kick it aside. South St. Paul chips it all the way down the ice, and they'll change. Shako's going to come out of there. Near side boards to Knutson. Now Tocek on the ice. Tocek has the puck. She goes for Telejohn, but that's too far. We'll go off the far side boards, and South St. Paul will collect. Change direction behind the net. She's going to skate it right up the middle. Now she's going to go weave her way through center ice. Tries to get a shot off. It's easily sticked aside. Quinn Vanesti starting in the net for the Sabers. Dangerous pass. That was Aubrey Smith trying to backhand a pass, I think, behind the net. Ended up putting it on net. Vanesti alertly covered. We'll get a forward change. Huberty, Anderson, and Luth onto the ice. Shako wins that face-off. Comes off the far side boards. Luth and Anderson can't get to it, and South St. Paul back on the puck. Puck comes out of there. Luth over to Anderson. Puck ends up in her skate, but she's able to recover it. She's going to go wide. Tries to go to her forehand. Hit the defender's skates, trying to go around her. Puck is cleared. It's going to be iced by South St. Paul. Carlson was back there to retrieve it anyway, and we'll end up back down in the offensive zone. Huberty, Anderson, and Luth. At the Carlson and Cam Chrisak at D. Huberty on the draw. Draw gets tied up. South St. Paul comes out of there with it. Go off the boards behind the net, and they'll try to go out the far side, but Shakopee's in good position. Rister got deflected by Anderson and was just lazily tracking towards that far post, but goalie managed to get there. She gets pinned on the boards. There's a couple of Packers down there. They'll go out the other side and manage to almost escape. Chrisak manages to hold it in momentarily. Anderson touches up, but they'll go change. We've got the red Saber jersey on the ice now for South St. Paul, but she can't handle the pass, and Carlson will go back and retrieve. She's coming with a full head of steam now. Moves to her backhand. Tries the wraparound, but that puck got kicked around in front. The goalie sticked it aside very adeptly. Drop pass from Carlson to Rampart is picked off. Packers will just dump it in and go for a partial change. They have 2 skaters putting pressure on the ice. Puck came out to the neutral zone, but we needed to touch up, so Shakopee able to retrieve. Carlson out to McNee. We've got McNee, Rampart, and John Choi. And John Choi is going to end up, I think, in no penalty. Okay. No penalty. Just a hard crash into the boards. Face-off will come out to the neutral zone. Telejohn, Knutson, Tocek and then Schuler and Chloe Krisak. Knutson off the boards deep, and Telejohn will be the first to the puck. Packer defender is right there, but Telejohn and Tocek down there. Now here's Knutson. Maneuvers nicely. She comes out of there, gets her wrister off. Up on the shoulder pads, but the goalie was in the right spot, managed to keep it out. Puck on the far side boards. Poked at and then chipped out by South St. Paul. They're going to waive icing because Krisak was able to retrieve it. She'll change directions, try the escape up the far side boards. Pass got deflected, but Tocek was able to stay on it momentarily. She'll go cross ice, but the pass is behind Telejohn. Wrister is easy enough for Vaneski to save. Pass goes off the boards behind the net to Schuler, up to Knutson. She'll go middle to Telejohn. She was one stride off the center line when she put it deep, and that's going to be icing. Partial change, actually full change for the Sabers. Cam Krisak, Aubrey Smith, Huberty, Anderson, and Luth on the ice. Draw on the near side face-off circle in the defensive zone. Won by Huberty to Smith. He lost an edge and managed to control the puck. Anderson tries to break out. Some nifty stick work, but loses the puck on the near side boards. Controlled by South St. Paul. Sabers up aggressively on the forecheck. Huberty got tripped into the boards back there, but no call. She gets up, rallies nicely. Puck comes out. Puck ended up on loose stick in the middle of the ice, but she couldn't get a shot off. South St. Paul will come down and chip it deep, and they'll go for a change. Krisak will go up the far side boards, looking for Luth, but shut down quickly by the Packers. Huberty over there on the far side boards helping out. Puck comes out of there. It's on Anderson's stick. She's going to skate around the Packer defender. Cuts to her backhand. Gets poke checked away. John Choi on the ice now with McNee. Anderson will go for a change, and then Rampart will come on, so that first line forward set is back on the ice. Carlson holds it in, goes down to McNee. Nice pass into the middle for Rampart. Her wrist shot got deflected by a defender. McNee manages to stay on the puck. Shot goes off a shin pad. Her second one goes wide across the crease. Rampart runs it down, goes back to Krisak. Her shot got deflected she tried to redirect. McNee did. Just got a little too much stick on it. That wrister is another one by Chloe Krisak. Had good pace on it, but just went a little bit wide. Packers are just going to clear it and ice it. They needed a little bit of a break there. So we get a stoppage, 8:42 left in the first. Shots are 4-2, according to the scoreboard. Sabres feel like they've had more chances than that, but Packers have been blocking a lot of shots. There haven't been a lot that have gotten through clean. Telejohn wins the draw, ends up back on Smith's stick. She tries to go over to Tocek, but that pass was behind her and off the boards. Exit strategy by the Packers is thwarted by Smith. Aggressively stepped up there. It's a good forecheck. Puck comes off to Telejohn. It got either deflected or just leaked wide on the far side. Ended up back on Tocek's stick. She tried to go to Knutson behind the net. It was a little too far, but Knutson, good effort on the forecheck, manages to get back, and South St. Paul trying to skate the puck out. Oh, great snapshot by Knutson. Goalie just managed to get a stick on it. Knutson driving through the middle of the ice, loses the puck, but pops to Tocek. She gets doubled up down on the boards, and South St. Paul scoot it down the far side boards, going for the exit. D-to-D pass, got a little confusion there for the Sabres, and South St. Paul able to clear the zone. Sabres go for a full change. South St. Paul tries to take advantage of it, but that pass was off target, and it'll come back down after the ice. Anderson, Huberty, and Luth, the forward spots, and a couple of Krisaks at D. Huberty on the draw. She wins the puck. It's going to go back to Chloe. Wrister bounced off Luth's skate, I think, but the goalie was in good position, made a nice save. So Shakopee with the majority of the opportunities, but haven't been able to get one in the net. So puck will end up coming out towards center ice. Ends up on a Krisak stick. They go cross ice, and puck kicked around. Luth tries to drop pass, ends up on a Krisak stick. Anderson got the redirect, but puck slowed down a little bit too much to be too much trouble for the goalie. Couple shots in the last few minutes, starting to stack up for the Sabres. Spent the majority of the time down on this end of the ice. John Choi, McNee, and Rampart will try and break the scoring streak. Rampart is the leading goal scorer for the Sabres. She's got 7 to go along, 2 assists, 9 points on the season. McNee, one of the other forwards, is second leading scorer, 6 goals and 4 assists, and the leading point getter with 10. So this line has some offensive firepower. Expect to put one in the net here pretty soon, I think. Good hustle down behind the boards, but South St. Paul managed to come out of there with it. John Choi with the pressure. Now McNee. Krisak holds it in. Back to McNee. Now John Choi is going to go help her out. Got 3 Packers over there. Puck comes out to Krisak. Ooh, shot came all the way across the crease. Ended up, no Sabres were there for the rebound. It was just sitting there, but great shot by Krisak. One of those is going to find the back of the net sooner or later. Puck comes out to Krisak. She tries the slapper. Doesn't get enough on it, but Rampart manages to corral the puck just as it exits the zone. She'll skate it all the way to the far side. A couple of shot attempts by McNee and Rampart got deflected. Schuler on the ice along with Smith, so we had a defensive change. John Choi will try to go around. Nice wrister by Smith. Goalie in good position, but couldn't hold on to it. Nobody there for the rebound. John Choi will take a breather as Telejohn comes back onto the ice. So Knutson, Telejohn, and Tocek, along with Smith and Schuler. Telejohn on the draw. Puck ends up on a Shakopee stick coming out of there. Schuler alertly wrists it down in the near side corner. The Packer was closing in on her. Knutson drives through the middle of the ice, but her shot gets deflected, comes out to Smith. Her shot gets deflected, so for all the puck control and time in the offensive zone that the Sabres are doing, a lot of shots getting blocked by the Packers. That was some nice stick work by Knutson. She drives hard to the net and gets just ripped down. That'll be a penalty. So the Sabres will go on the power play. 4:55 left in the first period. First penalty of the game. Looks like we have John Choi, Knutson, Carlson, Krisak, and Tocek on the power play. Face-off controlled by the Sabres. Carlson went down to Knutson along the far side boards. Aggressive pressure by South St. Paul. Puck comes out, deflected nicely by John Choi. Goalie covers well. Good opportunity early in the power play for the Sabres. Still 1:44 left. Sabres win the draw. Ends up on a Krisak stick. She tries to go down the far side boards, but puck got deflected. She ends up back with it, goes cross ice to Tocek. She's got John Choi with her. John Choi was trying to wait and use the defender as a screen, but couldn't end up getting the puck. Oh, puck ended up right on Tocek's stick in the slot, but she just shot it a little bit wide. Puck comes out of the zone. Carlson retrieves, and then Shako immediately back on the pressure. Shot by John Choi, hits the goalie high on the pads. John Choi, good physicality. They'll hold up the puck. Shaka will come out of there with the puck. Carlson's going to try to shoot. That one doesn't have enough sauce to get through. Comes out to Knutson though. Nice change of direction, but Packer defender was there. Now John Choi taking on 3 South St. Paul skaters back there and not able to win that battle, and they clear the puck. Carlson will go back and retrieve it. Tocek will come off. Rampart comes on. John Choi, Anderson's also on. John Choi scores. That was just very, very casual kind of walk in and just went 5-hole on the goalie. I think maybe the Packers were expecting her to try a centering pass, but they didn't seem like they were expecting the shot, and she took it, managed to bury it. So power play goal gets the Sabres on the board at 3:19, 1-0. That was John Choi. I don't know, I think it was from Carlson potentially. Face-off won by the Sabres. Ends up kicked around a little bit, but Sabres back in the ice. Anderson and Huberty on the near side boards battling. Puck comes across to Luth. She gets tied up. Oh, gets a shot off. Got deflected by South St. Paul. Puck still getting kicked around down there. Oh, they managed to get it out. Just kind of bouncing puck bounced over Krisak's stick. They'll poke it back, and she'll go back to retrieve it. She goes near side to Anderson, but she didn't see the puck. It was behind her. Ties up the skater from South St. Paul. They'll manage to chip it deep and go for a partial change. Schuler back to retrieve it. Shakopee with all 5 skaters below the face-off circle with nobody in the defensive zone is probably not ideal, but they managed to get it up the ice. Anderson tries a dangle, probably trying to do a little bit too much there. Packers trying to skate it out. Huberty and Luth. This skater's got some speed. She's going end to end, but Vanesti untroubled by the shot. That one was probably going to go wide, but she was in good position, gloved it just in case. Scorekeeper will give them credit for their 3rd shot of the game. 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the second period. 1-0. Sabres out shooting the Packers 13-3. Face-off won by Telejohn to Carlson. Carlson up to Tocek to Telejohn. That's a nice exit right there. Telejohn driving the net hard. She had Knutson on the far side, but didn't see her, couldn't get the puck to her. Tocek down along with Knutson, trying to keep the puck in. It pops around the boards to Smith. She tries a wrister that ends up going wide. Tocek went for the redirect. Couldn't get there. Carlson wrister ended up right on Elena Tocek's stick, and she backhanded it up over the goalie's shoulder for the Sabres' 2nd goal. That was a really nicely done backhanded finish by Tocek there. Carlson will get one of the assists, potentially Knutson on the 2nd one, so Sabres score their 2nd, 1:32 left. That is Tocek's 3rd of the season. Sabres will leave the forwards the same. Krisak will come in on defense. South St. Paul wins the draw. Haven't been too many of those yet today. Puck up into the neutral zone. Knutson battling one of the Packers for it. South St. Paul gets it deep, but it ends up on a Krisak stick, and Shakopee able to exit. Knutson changes direction, goes all the way across the ice. She's got Telejohn with her, but Shaka was partially changing Knutson, and Telejohn got out a little further ahead of the rest of the skaters. 45 seconds left. Puck comes over to Rampart, squirts under her stick. Chloe Krisak with a change of direction up the boards to Rampart. Up but not out yet, but she manages to body it through the zone. Good hustle by McNee. McNee and John Choi. Oh, John Choi tried to go 5-hole again with the backhand this time. Couldn't quite get it. Comes out of there. McNee tries a wrister. It hits either Rampart or the South St. Paul defender. 15 seconds left. John Choi setting the screen. Tries to deflect, but doesn't quite get there. Puck comes out to Smith, who will hit it in the corner. I think that's probably going to kill the period. Puck gets tied up on the boards, and that'll be the end of the first. So 2-0 Shockoe after the first, out shooting South St. Paul 15-3. John Choi and Tocek, the goal scorers in the first. We will take a brief 1-minute hiatus, and we'll be right back for the second. Alrighty, back and ready for the second. McNee, John Choi, Rampart, Krisak, and Krisak on the ice. Sabers heading left to right on your screen. Managed to control the draw momentarily. Rampart over on the far side boards along with John Choi. Puck comes out to McNee. She'll backhand it in. That's going to end up on the net. Gets sticked aside by the goalie. McNee with good hustle. John Choi almost got to the puck, tied up in front of the goalie as she's able to cover. Goalie sticked it aside, but McNee with good hustle and put it right back into the mixer there. John Choi was driving the net, just couldn't quite get enough on it. John Choi will take the draw, backhanded face-off win. Will go back, end up back on Cam Krisak's stick. Her wrister gets deflected. Chloe steps up, but South St. Paul finally breaks out. Nice poke check there by Krisak to stop what looked to be maybe the most dangerous pressure that South St. Paul had yet. Nice pass by McNee to Rampart, backhand, and beautiful save right off the toe pad by the goalie. That was a nice pass by McNee, and Rampart with a backhanded shot. Puck ends up in the neutral zone and chipped down by South St. Paul. They'll change. Krisak gonna skate it out on the backhanded pass. Doesn't find anyone and ends up back on a Packer stick. Telejohn on the ice now, along with McNee, and she comes into the net, or into the zone with the puck, gets a wrister off that goalie sticks aside. Puck ends up back on Knutsen's stick. Her wrister goes wide, but run down by Tocek. South St. Paul trying to exit the zone, but Telejohn putting good pressure on and manages to deflect the net. The clearance pass. Knutsen driving to the middle of the ice and scores on a wrister over the shoulder of the goalie. That was a nice shot. That is Knutsen's third of the season. Assists will go to I think one of the defenders, and then maybe toe check? I don't know. I have to hear the announcer on that one. I didn't see where the second assist came from. Shaka will change. Huberty, Luth, Anderson, Carlson, and Krisak on the ice. Shaka still comes out of there with the puck. Luth will chip it into the corner. Anderson giving chase. Backhanded up the near side boards. Krisak steps up, but not able to hold it in. Carlson will go back to retrieve. She's skating with some speed. She's going to come into the zone. Backhanded pass goes all the way through. Huberty was there, but defender kind of skated through her back, and she wasn't able to get a stick on the puck. That was a nice pass, centering pass by Carlson. Good opportunity. Rister ended up coming in and being gloved by the goalie. So stoppage at 12:56 of the second. South St. Paul wins that draw, and they'll go behind their own net, coming around to the near side boards. Luth giving chase, forces a change of direction. Now they're going to go back out the other way, trying to exit on the far side boards. Carlson was on the blue line and in good position to stop the advance once they entered the neutral zone. Some real sloppy work in the center of the ice there, and South St. Paul gets a really good scoring chance. But Venesti's in good position and manages to cover it, absorb and cover. We'll get a 5-skater change for the Sabres. It was a little bit of a sloppy end of that shift, so we'll see if they can get the aggression back with this group. Schuler, McNee, Rampart, John Shoy, and Chloe Krisak. Chloe Krisak has the puck. She comes out the near side to McNee, who goes around the South St. Paul defender and skates her way to the puck. The wrister goes high. Rampart goes back to Krisak, who goes cross ice to Schuler. Her wrister goes wide. John Shoy is going to be the first to the puck. Bounces it off the boards to Krisak, but she tries to go back down the boards, and it ends up getting intercepted. South St. Paul clears, but Shako immediately back up the ice. The puck tipped off a South St. Paul stick, so they wave the icing, and John Shoy is back and on the puck. She skates it all the way back to Krisak, who gets a wrister on net. Rampart poked the rebound over to McNee, who was all by herself, had time to gather, make herself lunch and dinner, and then finished. That's McNee's 7th. Assists will go from Rampart and Krisak, I believe. 4-0. Sabres 11:36 in the second. Shots are really piling up now, 23-4. Telejon on the ice with Tocek and Knutson wins the draw. Tocek comes out of there with it. Goes far side boards to Knutson, who attempts to chip it deep, but the ref is in the wrong spot. Comes out of there to Cam Carlson, who's on her backhand, trying to drive the net and center it with the backhanded pass, similar to what she did earlier, but hit a skate, didn't get all the way through. Puck cannot be cleared. Smith held it in nicely there, and Tocek on the forecheck manages to hold the puck in the zone. Telejon all by herself back there. Comes out of there with the puck. Smith will go back down behind the net, and Knutson, she'll wheel back to Carlson, whose shot gets deflected. South St. Paul able to skate it out, but Knutson with an aggressive back check and puts enough pressure on the Packer skater that she just has to dump it deep. Nice exit pass from Carlson. Knutson trying to get the puck deep, rips it into her own bench. I don't think the crowd liked that very much. She apologized to the players, put her hands up, mea culpa. That was entertaining. That line will get a break. After that, Huberty, Anderson, Luth, Krisak, and Krisak on the ice. Face-off comes out will stay in the neutral zone, far side circle, or dot. Puck ends up on a Saber stick, and they'll get it deep. Huberty giving chase. Going to go on the far side boards, but Krisak with an aggressive pinch manages to hold the puck in. Centering pass from Huberty ended up on Luth's stick. She tried a backhanded pass. I think she thought one of the defenders was going to be there, and they were not. Anderson on the puck will drop it back to Krisak. She's going to go behind the net to her sister. Puck gets stuck in her skates, goes up to Luth, gets deflected, and Shaka will try again. Chloe tries to change of direction, but can't escape, and the puck is going to come out. Shot gets deflected off a skate. Follow-up shot gets deflected by Anderson. Finally get the puck out of the zone, but it's immediately intercepted, and South St. Paul back on the attack. 87 driving the net, backhanded pass. Nobody there for them, but shot ends up going well wide. Luth gets it, clears it to center ice, but they'll put it back on net. Stick to side easily by Vanesti. This line for Shako needs a change. Rister from the blue line, hard but not on target, and Luth and Huberty will try to get the puck up the ice. Luth's just going to ice it, which was probably fine at that point. 8:56 left in the period. We'll get 5 new skaters for the Sabres. Schuler-Smith at the defensive spots along with Rampart, McNee, and John Choi. John Choi on the draw, wins the draw, hits the ref with it, comes out. McNee can't clear. Held in by South St. Paul. Schuler, John Choi, and McNee all over. Rister from the blue line. Vanesti was screened, but in good position, managed to get the pad on it and managed to hold the rebound close and cover. Faceoff ends up kicking right to a South St. Paul stick, but they're not able to hold it in. John Choi skates it out. She loses an edge. We have 2 Shakopee skaters off sides. John Choi lost an edge and was laying on the ice, unable to get out of the zone. Rampart had her back to her, so she couldn't see it. Faceoff will come back out to the neutral zone. Same skaters for the Sabres. South St. Paul will change. Exciting news for South St. Paul. I think their missing jersey has been located because I no longer see a red Shakopee jersey on their bench, so that's good news. Rampart runs the puck down on the boards. She's got 2 Packer skaters over there battling her for the puck. Puck comes out of there to McNee, who tries a one-time shot, goes wide. Schuler steps in to hold it in. Rampart backing her up nicely there. Puck off the board, sticked up, and John Choi with a great shot coming out of there, but goalie managed to make the stop. It may have hit the side netting. Packers coming out of there with some speed. Schuler in good position, as is Smith. Rampart's going to come out of there with the puck. Tries to chip it up the boards, but gets intercepted and put back in behind the net. Schuler comes out of there with it. She's just firing it up the ice. That might actually die. Yeah, he waves it. And McNee ends up getting there first, along with Rampart. Rampart will go off the boards up to Carlson, who holds it in. She goes hard off the boards, but right to a Packer player who's going to skate it out. 87. She's able to turn that corner. That's the second time she's done that, but Vanesti with a good save, good positioning. Shot comes over to Carlson and to Tocek. Goes cross ice to Rampart. That's a good pass. Telejohn has to wait for Rampart to enter the zone. Rampart's shot gets sticked aside by the goalie. Tocek back to Krisak, who then goes back up the boards to toe check. Nice change of direction by the South St. Paul skater. Up and out. Glove down nicely by Cam Krisak, but the puck just kind of leaked out of the zone. So comes out on Knutsen's stick, but she loses control of it. There's 87 again for South St. Paul. Rister goes over Vanesti's shoulder, and South St. Paul is on the board. 6:18 left in the second. First goal of the game for South St. Paul, and that makes it 4-1. Turnover in the neutral zone there led to that one, and just a quick shot by South St. Paul. Puberty ties up the draw. It gets hit back to Chloe Krisak, who chips it deep with the backhand. Huberty giving good chase. Now over to Luth, who's battling on the near side boards. Huberty helping her out. They're there along with two South St. Paul skaters. They're going to backhand it around. Chloe Krisak with a good pinch, knocks it back behind the net. Now they'll come out the near side again. Luth takes a stab at it. Can't hold it in. Anderson in the middle of some traffic in the middle of the ice there. Puck getting kind of kicked all over the place. Huberty all the way down the ice. She was right at the center line, so no icing, and she gives chase. Puck comes out. Schuler got a stick on it. Ends up, her wrister ended up on a South St. Paul stick, and they're able to clear. She goes back to retrieve it, goes cross ice again to Luth. She can't control the puck, and South St. Paul's back in the zone. There's 87 again. Schuler in good position, puts a body on her. They both go down. Puck is up and not out, though. Good block, shot block by Luth there. Puck goes around the net to Chloe Krisak. She is going to change direction, go back behind the net to Schuler, who will come out to Luth. She goes through the middle to Anderson, but again, the puck cannot be cleared and ends up on the far side boards. Run down by Krisak. Her backhand goes up but not out. Anderson can't get there. Now John Choi's on the puck. She's going to go around the back of the net. I skated out, gets deflected. Krisak will clear, and Shako will finally change. John Choi is probably the only one that's going to stay. She puts good pressure to slow down the Packer advance while the new Shako skaters get on the ice. It's just been a real sloppy couple of minutes by Shakopee. Puck comes off the boards. Rister goes wide. Rampart's going to run it down. She gets run into the boards. Pinned by number 6. We've got 3 Sabers there along with 2 Packer skaters. Puck comes out of there to the Packer D. Nice shot block by John Choi. Ends up backhanded down behind the net. Carlson manages to get back there, backhands it up the boards. Ref gets in the way, but eventually on to John Choi's stick. She'll chip it out. She'll go for a change. I think the rest of the Sabers will stay. They'll try to go out the far side, but Smith is there. She loses an edge, but manages to keep the puck in the zone. Rampart gives, she had the wraparound too. The goalie was a little slow coming. She turned the corner too fast. Her wraparound ended up hitting the side of the goal there, but it was a good opportunity for Ella Rampart. Stoppage with 3:21 left. 4-1 Sabres. We'll get the Telejon, Knutsen, Tocek line with Chloe and Cam Krisak. Telejon with the face-off win. Tocek back to Krisak, who tries a wrister that gets blocked. Telejon battling hard on the boards to hold the puck in. Now Krisak steps up to keep it in. Tocek can't get a stick on it. Again, it comes out. Glove down nicely by Krisak, but comes out of the zone. Telejon holding up the South St. Paul advance as well as she can. That's going to be offsides. They are very much offsides, but they don't really realize what's going on. It's going to be skated out by Cam Krisak. She's going to enter all the way into the offensive zone. her wrister got deflected, but toe check manages to run the puck down. Krisak was down on the other side of the ice, having carried the puck in, so the drop pass ended up coming out to the neutral zone. Knutson down, giving chase. Krisak manages to stop the exit nicely. Puck ends up in Luth's skates. Her wrister hits a shin guard. Clearance goes hard off the far side boards, but backhand ends up on Knutson's stick. There's a pass from Smith to Knutson. Now if Schuler's got it, she's going to go back to Knutson, who goes back to Schuler. She's going to try to step into a shot. Oh, Huberty was all by herself there. Knutson on the puck now. Cuts inside. Huberty wrister goes wide, but she runs down her own rebound and goes back behind the net. South St. Paul's got some tired skaters. Luth on the puck. Her pass ends up back on Smith's stick. She's going to step into a wrister that gets deflected wide. Schuler was thinking about it for a minute, decided not to step up, and the puck is iced by the Packers. 1:23 left in the second. Get a little bit of a stoppage and a couple new skaters for the Sabres. Huberty, Luth, Anderson, Carlson, and Cam Krisak. Huberty ties up the draw. Anderson drops it back to Krisak. She wrists it. Anderson redirected, but it went wide. Anderson on the far side boards battling for it. Gets tied up. There's a couple of Packer skaters there. Eventually pops out. Carlson steps up and halts the advance. Packer fans don't like that tie-up. Wanted a penalty. Cross-ice pass from Carlson to Luth. Carlson wheels up the boards to Luth. Gets tied up. Carlson's going to go back the other way, up to Krisak and up to Anderson. She tries a cross-ice pass to Luth, eventually gets it on her stick. Luth's shot gets deflected. And that was good hustle by the defender. Carlson, with an aggressive pinch, manages to keep it down there, and Luth's going to end up on the puck. Far side boards. Anderson can't quite get there, but Carlson manages to hold it in. Her wrist shot got deflected down and cleared. About 11 seconds left in the period. Don't know that Shakopee has enough time to do much of anything, but they think so too, and they just kind of throw it up the ice. Ends up on a South St. Paul stick, and that'll be the end of the second. So 4-1 Sabres. Got a little sloppy there towards the second half of that period. Gave up a goal, gave up a couple shots, but we will take a more extended break for the Zamboni to resurface, and we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. All right, welcome back to the third period. Shakopee holding a 4-1 advantage. Out shooting the South St. Paul Packers 25-8. Headed from right to left on your screen. Settle in for the third period. We've got John Choi, Telejohn, and Knutson out. A little bit of a line shuffle for the third period. Puck ends up in the Saber offensive zone, but St. Paul trying to break it out, can't quite get it done. Krisak put it back in. Krisak and Schuler are at the D positions. Knutson backhands it back up the boards. And now John Choi down. Knutson sticked it down. John Choi's shot very wide, but able to end up on a Telejohn stick. Krisak steps into a wrist shot that gets redirected just wide by John Choi. That was nicely done, just a little bit wide. Knutson on the near side boards, whips it back to Schuler. She's going to go cross ice to Krisak. Steps into a shot, and that, I'm pretty sure John Choi got the redirect on that one. That was nicely done. They tried that about 30 seconds ago, and she tipped it just wide. She must have adjusted the stick angle just a hair there and managed to slide it just inside the post on the redirect. So that is her second of the game. Sabres' fifth of the game. That line controlled that entire shift, and they will get a breather. We've got Anderson, Rampart, and Tocek back on the ice together, along with Smith and Carlson. So the lines have been juggled a little bit. They look a little bit more like they have the last couple of games. Smith up, looking for Anderson, but that's going to be an icing. We'll come back to the... Mike Vanesti has astutely pointed out that Chloe Krisak is no longer on the bench, so she must be playing varsity. So we are down a defender for the third. Smith goes behind her own net, comes out with the puck, tries to go up the boards to Anderson, but she can't get there. Gets poked back in by South St. Paul. Good pressure on the far side boards, and Tocek's able to get it to Rampart. They'll exit. Rampart leaves, tries to drop it back, and does so to Carlson. Nice spin by Carlson, but pass to Tocek was a little bit short, not hard enough, and South St. Paul with another opportunity. Shot hit Vanesti in the face, I think, and she's able to cover. Shakopee's been controlling the game, but they've given up a number of sort of odd rushes where they turn the puck over in the neutral zone. That'll give Mitch something to work on in practice next week. John Choi, Schuler, Huberty, Cam Krisak, and Luth on the ice. Exit pass gets deflected, but ends up on a John Choi stick. She drives hard towards the net and scores. That is a hat trick for John Choi. Enthusiastic response from the Shakopee crowd. That is a 6-1 advantage for the Sabres. The D will change, so we get Smith and Carlson. Forwards will stay. Puck comes onto the near side boards. Backhand goes past Smith and behind the net. Carlson tied up behind the net, but John Choi comes out of there with the puck. Skates through the neutral zone into the offensive zone. Tries to dangle, but gets held up. Carlson tries to step into it. That gets deflected out. Puck is right behind John Choi. She's not paying attention. Smith was there, and Rampart came off the bench just in time, so no harm, no foul. Carlson's going to try to skate it out. Cross-ice pass hits a Packer skate momentarily stopping the advance. They'll come out of into the zone with the puck. 87 lost her stick. I don't know if that got held up by a Shakopee player or what, but the stick went flying. She lost the puck. Wrister kicked down by Vanesti. Packers weren't able to get a shot on the rebound, and they tried to drop pass. It ended up going all the way down to the other end of the ice. Now it's in the Shakopee offensive zone. Schuler tries to hold it in, but can't. Krisak is back, and she gets taken into the boards. No call there. Puck comes out of there on Telejohn's stick. She's going to go cross ice to Lauren Knutson. Cuts inside. Gets pretty good slash there. Nice backhand to Telejohn, and she puts it in the net. That was a really good centering pass from Knutson, especially after absorbing at least one, maybe two pretty effective slashes. Kind of deflected the puck into the corner, but she scanned before she got to the puck and was able to backhand the centering pass right to Telejohn, who buries it. That is number 7 for Shakopee. 7-1 margin now. Those 5 skaters will stay on the ice. And Telejohn immediately back into the offensive zone. She tries to cut across the face of a defender, and they just got stick on the puck to slow her down. Schuler puts it back into the zone, ends up on a Packer stick. They backhand it up the ice. Can't control it. It ends up on Krisak's stick. She goes cross ice very nicely to Tocek, who one-times it back to Telejohn, who gets pulled down, still gets a shot off very nicely. They're going to call a penalty on that. I'm not sure on who. Called Knutson for the penalty. I did not see that one, but doesn't mean it didn't happen. So 10:25 and running. We are now in runtime in the third period with that last goal. So Packers are going to go on the power play. Luth, Huberty, Carlson, and Smith on the penalty kill. And nice clear by Smith. Chipped all the way down the ice. Huberty giving chase. Packer will change direction, but Smith steps up, and then there's Huberty hounding him. They'll finally get it out of their zone and into the offensive zone. Smith got tied up with one of the skaters. Looked like the ref was thinking about calling it, decided not to. A couple of Shakopee skaters over there, and Carlson comes out of there with the puck. She'll wrist it all the way down the ice. And that'll kill about 10 seconds. Already down to 1:10 left on the penalty. Forecheck of the Sabers doing a decent job keeping the Packers kind of off balance, but forward able to poke the puck away from Krisak. He's trying to skate it out, and it does eventually clear the zone, so they'll regroup. Huberty's going to go for a change, and Rampart will come onto the ice. Wrister, easy save by Vanesti. Number 8 follows her shot hard and aggressively, but Vanesti covered. Down to 28 seconds and counting on the penalty. This will be the last face-off draw of the penalty, I'm guessing. Puck controlled by Shakopee comes onto Schuler's stick. She takes it up the near side boards, up but not out. About 10 seconds left in the penalty. She's going to go around the other side of the net. Tries to go up the far side boards, but held in by South St. Paul. Puck kind of dies on the far side of the net there. Eventually comes onto a Shakopee stick. That is John Shoy and Anderson onto the ice. She'll collect it. Crosses center and goes, chips it deep. Telejohn, not John Shoy, my apologies. She puts a body into the defender and allows Rampart to hold on to the puck. Nifty stick work by the South St. Paul forward, got around Carlson for a moment, but not anything too dangerous. Smith to Anderson up the near side board. She tried a backhanded pass into the middle that got intercepted. Puck's going to end up behind the net. Carlson will go collect it. She goes up the far side boards to Toczek, immediately intercepted by a South St. Paul player. Toczek tries to go through the middle, but Rampart wasn't quite there. Puck gets backhanded back behind the net. 7:13 left, and Smith will go collect. She gets tied up, no call there. Took a hard fall. Could have been a trip, but didn't call it. Anderson closes out, able to get in front of that shot. Shako able to get out of the zone, but not able to control the puck. A couple of stick waves by Toczek and Anderson allow a shot by the South St. Paul forward that is stick down and then covered by Vanesti. Get some new skaters on the stoppage. Schuler, Krisak, John Choi, Knutson, and missing a fifth. Here comes Huberty. John Choi on the faceoff. Rister from the blue line got into a Knutson skate, and John Choi comes out of there with the puck. She's looking for number 4. Tries to go 5-hole, doesn't quite get it. Almost had the rebound as well. Schuler, a hard pass that ends up going off of Knutson's shin pad. Knutson into the zone, deflected off a Packer defender, and then John Choi was first to the puck. Knutson comes out of there with the puck, tries to get a wrister off, deflected. Huberty tried to get a shot off, also blocked into a shin pad. South St. Paul dad is calling for a penalty every 3 seconds. Schuler will step into a shot. Nope, that got deflected and then kicked aside. Cam Krisak comes out of there with some speed, wheeling, but gets poked aside. Now Rampart's got it. She goes to, oh, wow. That's a beautiful shot by Rampart. Rampart to Knutson, back to Rampart, and a really nice hard wrister right to the glove side. Might have caught their goalie by surprise a little bit. It had good pace on it, and Ella Rampart will get the goal. Knutson on the assist there. Just under 5 minutes left in the game. 8-1 Shakopee. So Sabers in cruise control for the most part. Rampart, Telejohn, and Luth on the ice now. Draw one by the Sabers, but goes through Carlson's legs and ends up back on the boards behind the Shako net. So South St. Paul got a shot off that went well wide. Smith and Telejohn on the near side boards, along with 2 Packers. Trying to dig the puck out of there. Packers will come out of there with it. Centering pass, there's nobody home. Luth lifted the stick of the nearest Packer player. Nice pass by Rampart up to Telejohn. She's got a defender draped all over. Still manages to get the shot off. And then Rampart on the follow-up manages to score a goal. So 2 goals in about 1 minute and 15 seconds for Rampart. Telejohn really made that one, though. Rampart had a nice pass up to Telejohn, and she managed to body off a defender who was draped all over her. Got a good shot off. Packer goalie stopped it, but Rampart was coming in hard for the rebound and just poked it, slid it right under her. John Choi, Anderson, and Toczek on the ice, along with Krisak and Schuler. Faceoff goes to Krisak, and she's coming into the zone with some speed. South St. Paul clear. John Choi's back where she needs to be. Goes over to Schuler, who loses the puck. It ends up deep. John Choi's going to go collect it. She's going to come out of there with some speed. She's got some space now that she got around the first forward. One of the Packers coming off the bench managed to poke it away from her. Sabres got it back in the zone, but they were off sides. little bit of miscommunication there between Toczek and Anderson, and South St. Paul ends up back on the puck. Toczek has it near side boards. Tries to and succeeds in going past a couple of Packer skaters. Puck ends up getting backhanded back, and Shaka will go for a change. South St. Paul tries to take advantage of the change, but the pass is a little too far ahead of their forward. Carlson manages to get it. She goes to Knutson, who changes direction. Goes cross ice to Huberty. Puck gets deflected off a Packer skater, but Faith able to put good pressure on her. Clearance pass gloved down by Smith nicely. Ends up coming out of the zone anyway, but Shakopee able to hold possession momentarily. They end up offsides just under 2 minutes, and we'll get a face-off in the neutral zone. Rampart taking the draw with Knutson, Huberty, Smith, and Carlson. South St. Paul shot it down the ice and ended up on Smith's stick. Well, that's another offsides for the Sabers, but that'll probably kill another 20 seconds while we get ready for face-off. We'll get a change out of it. Telejohn, John Shoy, Krisak, Schuler, and Luth on the ice. This will probably be our last line change of the evening with only 1:15 left and runtime happening. John Shoy wins the face-off, ends up on Krisak's stick. She tries to thread the needle there, ends up kicking back into neutral. Then she goes cross ice to Telejohn, got it into her skates and wasn't able to connect. Schuler manages to halt the Packer advance right on the blue line. Telejohn gives her some help. Puck comes out of there right on Luth's stick. Nice centering pass by Luth, a little bit behind Telejohn. She's not able to control it. South St. Paul with a chance to clear. Krisak holds the puck in momentarily. Packers had a little bit of a breakout opportunity, but Krisak stopped that. 30 seconds left as Schuler goes back to collect the puck. She's going to skate it out herself right through a lot of the South St. Paul defense. Eventually gets held up, but still on the puck over there. Manages to hit it around far side boards. Goes all the way behind the net to the near side boards, and Telejohn ends up being the first one on it. John Troy just spins and whips a wrister. It goes wide, and then Krisak does the same thing, and that'll be the end of the game. So Sabres finish strong in the third period, end up with a 9-1 win after outshooting South St. Paul 33-12. So quick third period with the runtime. Shakopee bounced back after kind of a herky-jerky second period and finished strong in the third. So we'll take the 9-1 victory. Varsity will be on about 45 minutes from now. I think they're playing a Canadian team. If you guys want to stick around for that. And then JV will be back tomorrow for their next game. So thank you guys for viewing and sticking around. We'll see you guys tomorrow.